Hey guys, welcome or maybe even welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Joyce and I'm a freelance graphic designer, somewhat artist. I create all kinds of stuff like illustration, brand designs, animations, and character design. I'm also currently enrolled in a motion graphics master's and it's actually my last month. So I have a pretty big final assignment coming up and that's exactly what we'll be working on today. I already have a very cute animation idea in mind. It includes bunnies and wizards, so two of my favorite things. I haven't gotten started animating anything yet and that's not good. I've been occupied working on this really amazing client project. I really didn't want to take any freelance work this month because I wanted to focus just on the masters, but this one just popped up and when I read the brief I just had to take it on because it's a dream project. I'm creating animations for a humpback whale documentary and I'm also allowed to share the whole process with you guys too, so it's gonna be a separate video as well. But yeah, anyways, I've got a lot of catching up to do, so let's get creating. Let me give you guys a very quick rundown of the brief and my idea for this animation piece. So if you're wondering, the uni I'm actually enrolled in is called L'Ambassade. It's an online school. It's a one-year program called Motion Graphics Masters. For this last assignment, we are supposed to create a larger piece of work to demonstrate our improved skill in motion design. And the motion design piece is supposed to be based on the theme of transformation. What kind of area motion design is up to us. So I've personally decided to go with frame by frame. The instructor said that no one has ever done a frame by frame final assignment, so I'm not quite sure what to think about that. And it's mainly self-led. We do have weekly milestones we can upload and get feedback on. And today is Tuesday, the next feedback round is on Thursday, so I have 2 more days. Come up with something. As I said, my idea is to create something frame by frame. I really want to focus on character design. I'll be animating a walk cycle and have a character transform throughout the walk cycle from one stage of life to like different stages of life. The character I'm thinking of is a bunny wizard character inspired by video games, and then having him start off in this very young, childlike appearance, then transitioning to a more young adult teen version, and then a very like elderly wise version of himself. I hope that makes sense. My goal for the next 2 days is to create the actual main bunny design. I've got nothing, so I think I'll just try some loose sketches first. Hopefully this will kind of start my creative juices and I'll be able to create this character. Okay you guys, so it's been about an hour working on these character design sketches, just kind of trying different proportion and shapes to see what works, and I think I found a design that I really like and want to explore, which is this guy right here. While I'm doing the character design, I'm already doing the animation in mind the whole time, making sure all my design choices actually look good in animation, that I'll be able to animate them. And since I'll be doing a baby version and an elderly version, I'm already thinking of what props can transition throughout all of these stages, as well as his look itself, so like the ears, feet, just making sure I know how to translate his look in those different versions. I'm hungry, I'll go grab some lunch, go out since it's quite nice, and I'll be back working on these sketches as well as my big animation client project, which I also have a lot to do today, so I think I'll spend the rest of the day just working. It is currently 11 p.m. I'm ready to wrap up this day. I did end up working more on my client project than the character design. Timing is a bit tough because I have 2 deadlines for both of these projects tomorrow. Since the master's one is more of a feedback deadline and not like the final deadline, I felt better prioritizing the client project. But to make up for me not having that much of progress to show you guys, I'll give you a very little sneak peek of the humpback whale animations I'm working on and the tiny little update on our bunny wizard guy. Here here are some snippets of the humpback whale animations. They're all based on real-life encounters, and I was commissioned to create these so they can later be used to help tell these incredible stories. And this is the current state of our bunny wizard character. As you can see, I broke the design down into basic shapes and then created a baby and elderly version based off of that. I gave him some clothes too and added some more details, and that's kind of what we're working with right now. I didn't get as much done today as I wanted to, so I think I'll continue working on this after dinner. While I was creating the very rough panels for the storyboard, I noticed that I was really struggling with drawing the characters accurately. I think that's because the reference I'm working with, the bunnies are all facing forward. On our little to-do list, the storyboard is actually first, but I think I'll prioritize drawing the bunnies in different perspectives. Like maybe I'll just do a full 360 turnaround. That way I'll have like all the references I need to create some nice storyboard panels. Finishing the character turnaround, I did go back into storyboarding. I did end up changing the walk cycle perspective anyways from side to 3/4 view, so the turnaround ended up not being that necessary, but for me the most tricky part was figuring out how to connect the different walk cycles, so I was really focusing on these transitions, and I came up with some ideas as well as added a little intro and outro part to all of it, just to kind of keep things more well-rounded and add some story elements to all of it. And yeah, it ended up making the animation loop too, which was pretty neat. And since I added all of these extra actions, having a turnaround sheet turned out to be pretty useful anyways. get started with the rough animation. Seeing the style frames got me so much more excited about actually bringing this project to life and animating this bunny. To be honest, I was really struggling with getting myself to work on this project for the last week. I've been procrastinating a lot, feeling super tired. Now, after seeing the bunny in its colors and also adding the forest environment to it, it made me more excited. But yeah, I'll jump into TV Paint now and create the actual rough animation, and I'll take you a bit through the process and try to explain how I start my animation. But just a little warning, my rough animations are very ugly. But since you've seen my sketches as well, I think you can already know what to expect. So, welcome to the TV Paint interface. I know it looks a bit scary at first. I know I was intimidated, but it was actually pretty easy to get started with this program. I just watched a few YouTube tutorials, and after a day of trying things out, I was able to get started animating pretty much straight away. Yeah, so I'm gonna get started with the rough animation part, and I use the 2B pencil and just any kind of gray color. I personally create several versions just because my initial one is super messy, and to make sure I get all of the actions right, I do have my storyboard in front of me at all times. One thing I also really like to do is once I have a few frames done, I will flip through them manually, and you can already see motion happening even though it's super messy. I'll continue sketching out the movement, and once I have enough frames, I'll start focusing on the timing. I'll start adjusting the duration of the frame by sliding that little square, and now when I press play, you can already see things are looking so much more natural. That's pretty much it for the first part of the rough animation, and yeah, I'll just continue this process tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have a cleaner version done to show my instructor on Thursday. It's the end of the week, and that means I have 4 more days left till I need to submit this final assignment. We've made some pretty good progress so far. I finished the rough animation and got feedback on that Thursday, and then I started doing cleanup, so like my second round of drawing on top of that rough animation, and I finished that yesterday. So before I get into finalizing this piece, which means drawing the final frames in color and also compositing the scene, I thought I'd give you some more insights into what I think about while I'm creating animations like these. So what I mean by that are the 12 principles of animation. If you don't know them, they're kind of guidelines made by Disney, and I highly recommend you search them up and study them because they help so much with creating believable and engaging movements. I'll add 2 of my favorite videos up here. I'll only be talking about 3 principles for now, but all principles are really important, okay? So therefore I try to incorporate all of them. I do have some favorites, so let's talk about them. Starting off with arcs. Animating in arcs actually adds a lot of dynamics and fluidity to your movement. If you look at the way things move in real life, if it's a very natural movement, take the time to trace it, you'll see arcs are kind of everywhere in our life. So unless something interferes and therefore kind of changes the natural movement I'm trying to draw, I'll always animate in arcs. Next up is anticipation. Here it's all about adding that extra little movement before a big action happens. So kind of having a character gather energy or prepare for this next big action. It could be something like leaning back or taking a step back before walking forward, or swinging an arm back to gather momentum to swing it back up. The more anticipation you add to a movement and the more you exaggerate it, the more powerful this next action becomes. There's a lot of room to kind of tweak the anticipation to see which feels the most natural and believable for the action you're trying to animate. The last principle I want to talk about is follow through and overlap. Having parts of a character like the floppy ears of the bunny or the tip of the hat kind of drag behind the movement or continue once the movement comes to an end adds a lot of realism to that animation. This principle is very helpful for things like clothing or hair as well, and those are my top 3 animation principles for this project. I'll get started with the final phase of this animation project now, and let's hope I finish all of the frames in time. The end of this project is approaching, and I've still got quite a few frames to color. So to keep things more interesting, I thought I'd add another little Q&A session. That way we can continue chatting while also taking a look at my animation process. Let's start with the most frequent question I get. What animation programs do you use? All of the hand-drawn animations so far were done in Procreate Dreams, but I recently bought TV Paint, which is more of an industry standard software, especially for frame-by-frame animations, so I'm really excited to try it out and see what I can create with it. The second question is, how long did it take you to understand After Effects? So this person was actually feeling a bit frustrated with After Effects, and I totally get it. I've been using it for 4 years now, and I'm still learning new things all the time. What helped me early on was focusing on the basics, like rotation, scale, opacity, and position. I believe knowing those basics really helped me with learning and understanding more complex effects. The next question is about the full boil effect I add to my animations. I actually learned this effect from Ben Marriott, so you should definitely check his video out for a full breakdown. But in short, I use 2 effects. The settings vary slightly with each animation, but that's pretty much it. Another question I got was, what's the most challenging animation you've ever done? So far, the piece I struggle with most has to be the Heartbroken Jazz Cat animation. I really wanted to try and capture the iconic Ray Charles swing, so figuring out how to animate that movement, plus piano playing and singing, was really tough. I think I redid the rough animation about 10 times, but we got there and it's one of my favorite pieces ever. And the very last question I have right here is, what are your goals in animation? I want to create animations that connect with people and delight them. I grew up with Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, and since teaching myself frame by frame, I kind of reconnected with that joy I used to get as a kid when watching those animated films. Someday I hope to work in the industry, creating long-form animations like series and films to hopefully share just that feeling with someone somewhere out there. So yeah, that's the big goal I'm working towards. And that concludes this little Q&A session. I really hope my answers were helpful, and thank you so much for sending in all of those questions on Instagram. Before this video ends, we do have one last very important thing to look over together, which is the final completed Bunny Wizard animation. First, I just want to say thank you for sticking around and watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do let me know by subscribing, giving it a like, commenting, or sharing it with someone else. I really hope to see you in the next one, but till then, take care.